Just like that, you are food editing masters.
Hey guys, Jeremy Jacobowitz here from Brunch Boys. If you are new to the channel, this is all about my food adventures all over the world. And today I am doing a video for you guys that you've been asking for a very long time. And it is how to edit food photos. Yes, it is a skill that honestly isn't that hard, but I understand if you've never done it before, there are certainly little tricks, tips, hints, and things to not only just let you know how to do it, but how to do it really fast and really effective. That is what I'm gonna show you today, but obviously we need a subject first. So what I'm going to do is Black Seed Bagel. So it's funny, one place that closed during this whole little situation was Black Seed Bagels. And everyone asked me like, oh, what's the one thing you want to eat when things open up again? And honestly, a lot of the food that I eat a lot of never closed down. Thank God. They just sort of just did delivery. But I haven't had Black Seed in months. And they opened up a new location very close to my apartment. So we're gonna take a drive over there, grab some photos, and then I will show you how I edit them. But first, you gotta work for the bagels. So work in every which way. I'm going to edit a little bit this morning. I'm gonna work out, and then once I've built up my appetite, time for bagels. All right, let's go find me a socially distanced circle. The gym's obviously still not open, and me not really being able to find proper weights, unfortunately. What I do is I have resistance bands, and I put them under a bench, because I also don't have a bench. I put them around, and then I'm able to do chest. All right, it's a little run, finish the workout, but time to work out. God damn, it is a beautiful day. Look at New York City behind me. Oh, here we go. Hello, finally back. All right, so we made it to the new Black Seed in Bushwick. It is a beautiful, giant location. I wish I could be in there filming, but we were outside. They have some tables set up. There's only one table now because they're actually almost closing in. They saved one last table for me, which is very nice. But I'm just gonna take some photos and then we're gonna eat. Duh, I gotta eat my bagels. I've been waiting months for it. They got nice coffee, obviously. Finally, after all that, I get to eat bagel. I've been missing so much. Oh, how beautiful it is. Oh, I miss food boxes so much. I got normal lox, and then I got a boca. All right, that's definitely the fun part, but let's get back to my apartment and let's edit these bad boys and see what we got. All right, so we are back at my desk. Let me sort of walk you through the process of what I did right now. Loaded up the photos in there, and then the next thing I do is just go through the one by one and just try and condense down before I actually start editing. I tend to shoot a lot, especially with this camera. It's very easy. So I'm just looking for like one version of every different photo that I took to then edit and then keep narrowing down there. So I could have 5 photos in a row and they're all very similar. I just want to find the best one of that one. So just like maybe angles are off, or I'm handheld, so maybe it's just not the right way I want to do it. So we narrow it down from there. So I probably went from maybe 70 photos to 35. So I cut them right in half. Part of that is like I have photos of me in here too, and those usually take a little bit more time for me to like edit and get right. I am not as beautiful as the bagels, but we're gonna sort of ignore those for now. Just let me get this out there before we move any further into how I edit the photos. This is going to be probably medium level stuff. I'm working off of Lightroom, not a hard system to know, but you sort of have to know how to use it a little bit, and I will teach you some of those things, but having some understanding of it would be very helpful for you. 2, I shot all these raw. Here's the thing. Raw, I'll give you a little basic example. So like when you take a photo on your phone, it's JPEG, which is, we're talking about the size of the file and the data that's in the file. RAW is just a different type of file that is much bigger and collects much more data. Why is that important? It's important because it lets you manipulate the photo in ways that a JPEG just couldn't.
literally it's these processors. I mean, this is like stuff that I barely understand. Basically, the way digital photo works is it's these little tiny pixels that are guessing what all the colors are. And a JPEG is guessing, let's pick a number, 1,000 times. It's guessing at 1,000 pixels, where RAW is guessing at 1,000,000 pixels. I don't know what the real number is, but basically that's what it is. So for me as a photographer, I want to do everything I can to control every single part of the photo. Same reason why I shoot in manual while I'm photographing, because I want to control everything. It helps you save photos also. Like, well, I'll go through an example in a minute of like photos that weren't shot right, and because it's RAW, I'm able to bring them back to life, or if the JPEG you couldn't do it. Again, this is more like medium level stuff. If you're a beginner, don't shoot RAW. But as soon as you feel like, okay, I'm getting a handle on this, shoot RAW. It is worth it. The file size is bigger, but it is 100% worth it, especially if you're going to edit these photos. Shoot RAW, baby. All right, let's get to it. So I narrowed it down. Let's pick a nice one to edit here. I like these. So I shot some of these photos both with the 16-35, which I'm shooting on right now, and then I brought this 70-200. I also have a 50mm. I still just go back and forth on the way I'm feeling. Sometimes just like I grab the lens and I'm like, ooh, I forgot how much I love this one. 70-200 is gigantic, so I have to keep that in mind too when I'm filming and photographing, but kind of like been falling back in love with that one a little bit. And what I love about it is it's very tight on it. It's very clean, and I just like the way the separation in the photograph too. I don't know, I'm really liking it. So we're gonna go to develop. And let's see here. So the first thing I'm going to do, so basically we're going to working with is all these things over here. So right now I'm looking at this photo, and the first thing I notice is that it's a little underexposed. Great. So we're going to bring it up a little, just get it to somewhat working condition. Just a touch. We'll mess with that later. Now, when you look at this photo, you're thinking, the colors look really dull. It's a very flat image. Not necessarily the way I saw it when I was shooting, and that's because you were shooting, we shot RAW. So when you get the RAW photo, all of that color and contrast that you shot is within that file. It's just giving you the option of giving you the most plain version, so you can then take it in any direction you want. The thing with photography is like, I could look at a photo and tell you if it's good or not, but everyone thinks of these things differently, and it's fun to develop your own style. So with food in general, what I'm going to edit these photos for you is the most general way to edit a food photo, I would say. Before you find your own style, let's get to this step. So getting back to that, so like I said, there's no saturation, there's no contrast. So we're going to raise those things. I'm going to raise the contrast first. Oh boy, here we go. And all right, already it's coming back to life. I usually raise it between 30 and 40. We'll keep it at 34 for now. Good place. Again, these are all little tiny baby adjustments, and you're going to keep messing with them as you go on. Next, let's look at saturation. Just for example, so you see what it does. We can go all the way up, and you're like neon. You don't want all the way down. You bring saturation all the way down, you're black and white. That's where all the color is. So you want to be careful with the saturation. I think it's very easy to go too much, because sometimes when those colors just pop at you, you think it looks better, but you want to try and keep it as natural as you can while just enhancing the colors that are there. So 62 seems crazy high. 25 seems a little low. We'll go with 25 right now, actually. Now, exposure still looks a little dark. Let's bring it up here. All right. I want to say it's a little bit on the blue side. Just looking at the whites, I could tell. So we're going to raise the temperature a bit. A lot. I was off. A little too much. All right. So we're put it at 7,000. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So, already in 30 seconds, we have a beautiful photo. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crop it for Instagram. I like keeping all my photos as tall as I can on Instagram, and the tallest you could go is 4x5. So we're going to crop to 4x5. As you can see, it shoots much bigger, but we're cropping. I want to get a little tighter there too. Okay. And boom. That looks pretty good. Just to give you an example of what it looks like the next photo. this is pretty much what we are working with unedited, and in less than a minute, bam, we got that. All right, looking at it though, you know what? I think I went a little too heavy on the yellow. I'm gonna pull it down a little bit. All right, that looks better. So this looks pretty good to me. I still want to go through the sliders and just see what things do. It can't hurt. Like normally the two things I would go to next are shadows and highlights. Highlights are the brightest parts of your photos and the shadows are the darkest parts of your photos, so the whites and the blacks. Generally I find that you can tell already, I pulled down the highlights and you can tell on the bagel, you're already seeing way more of it that was getting lost just because they were blown out. So I kind of like that, pulling highlights down a little bit. How about shadows? Where are we at? Shadows, you're looking at most of the dark parts of this photo, so just the table in the background. Not the end of the world to keep those a little bit darker just because I want the focus to be on the bagel itself. But so since I pulled the highlights down, I think the image got a little too dark. So I'm going to raise the exposure a little bit more. And that looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. Other things that I usually would mess with is if you go down a little bit, you have this color panel here. Now again, because we shot raw, we can control every single color in the rainbow on this photo. So let's say I'm looking at the locks and I'm like, I want those like locks to pop a little bit more. We're gonna go to the red because that's what color they are. And there's hue, saturation, and luminance. Hue is the shade of red. Saturation is again what we talked about before. And then the luminance is bright or dark of that color. So we can control just that color. So let's see here. So if we go saturation, oh, that's too much. Oh, that's nothing. Maybe just pop it a little bit. See what luminance does. Even brighten them a touch. And we saw it didn't change all the color because there's more color in that than just that red. So let's see here. Let's see what the yellows look like. Yellow's obviously more of that bagel. No, I'm actually gonna bring them down a touch. See what saturation looks like. No, I don't wanna go crazy. It looks pretty good. Let's just look at our greens, the little capers. I'm gonna bring, the green is affecting actually more than I thought. They're touching into the yellows a little bit. So be careful there. I'm just gonna bring luminance down a touch. And I mean, that's it. All right, now we're in what, 2 minutes, and we have a beautiful, beautiful bagel photo. One thing I like to do then is, because generally I adjust the same contrast, highlights, and saturation for all my food photos, I actually keep a preset of it on here. So all the steps that I just did, I don't necessarily have to do. I keep them all right here. So I have one called food, and obviously it's not there because exposure is not there. But I'll bring it in, instead of going through one by one, getting it to that, I'll just click food, and boom, it's done. So that's a normal looking photo. So then what I think is fun is, we're just gonna create a virtual copy there. Create a virtual copy, we're gonna reset it. So that was the original photo. So original, edited, in no time. When you see the photos on Brunch Boys, they're not just like a normal edited food photo I have. I go back and forth a little bit, but to me, it's all about like finding your style and finding your edit of your photography to make that photo your own. So it's taken a lot of tweaks and going through stuff, but what I do is basically when I find something that I like, I save it as a preset also. So right now, I also name them really stupid things. They're just inside jokes to myself, pretty much. They're not funny anywhere else but myself, but inside jokes or like just notes to myself. So the one I've been using recently is, ironically or coincidentally, whatever it's called Black Seed, just because I found this edit in a photo when I was shooting a Black Seed photo from like a year ago, and I really loved it. So I just click it, boom. Actually, sorry, let me undo that. Let me make one more copy of this so I have a reference of it. Create virtual copy. All right, so I'm just gonna click that again. So I'm gonna throw my Black Seed edit on it. So boom, it's sort of there, it's sort of the way I would shoot it, but we're just gonna make some adjustments here. First thing I'm gonna do is enable profile corrections. Just fixes some of the weirdness that a lens could give the photo. Don't worry too much about that, but it's just what I do. I'm gonna crop it just so I can see the photo better for what I want it to be. Okay, and now, I mean, initially it's obviously overexposed, just gonna bring down the exposure. Gonna fix the color. What did I have the last one at? I brought this one to 64. All right, so 65, whatever. 60, leave it exactly the same. So if you see, as you can tell, because I usually do the same things to highlights and shadows, those are already saved like that. I'm just going to bring the highlights down a little bit more. Saturation is actually down, but that's because these colors are also saved in different ways. So you see, like, I've messed with it a bit where every color has their own setting. And yeah, that's it. So this is like more of a normal food. And this is my edit. It doesn't look too different today. Sometimes the photos look dramatically different. Today, they're actually very similar just because that edit is really more for when I have more blues in there. And there aren't really any blues in this. So they look very similar, but that's not the end of the world. So, all right, before we go, I just want to show you guys. So remember, if we, I talked about having that much data in all the photos, right? So here's what you could actually do with that is if you accidentally shot it overexposed, which I did purposely here, we could see what's saved. Now with digital cameras, when you shoot over, it probably will lose a little bit. It handles shadows much better, or handles underexposure much better. So if anything, if you're going to shoot any which way and not hit on the dot, shoot a little under, especially with Canons. But let's see what we can do with this. So we're going to bring down the exposure. I mean, already a lot. I mean, look, it's already. All right, let me make a copy of this for you. Before I do anything, let's make a copy so we can reference what it looked like when I export. Okay, so we're going to bring down the exposure. All right, that looks dramatically better already. All that data was there; it was just hiding. Do the usual bring up contrast. I mean, this looks great. Saturation up. Let me bring exposure a little bit. Again, temperature looks a little off. And boom, 30 seconds before doing anything else, we went from way overexposed to perfect. Maybe a little over still. Let me pull down the highlights a touch. You could use your histogram to see also. I eyeball it. I'll double check the histogram when I finish the photo. But generally, to me, I like seeing what looks good to me, you know? Looks great. All right, so and then let's take the example of if you were underexposed. Make a virtual copy of that. All right. So same thing. Instead of lowering exposure, it's going to raise exposure. And again, like a lot of the data is there. Go, what do we say, 35. Bump up the saturation. I mean, that looks great. Let's crop it properly. Look at that. The photo is saved. Went from that to that. I mean, like I said, normally the shooting over is not as easy to work with than shooting under, but it looks great. You don't necessarily have to worry about the data is there. So yeah, that's it. Very, very easy. I hope this helps you guys edit food photos. I would say, like, if you're going to edit a person, things to watch out for a little more. Oh, look, I'll just throw the food profile onto it. One thing to watch out for when you're editing a person is skin tone. So I think with food, you could get away with a little oversaturation. But when you oversaturate, especially with skin, it just looks awful. You turn into a neon monster, which just doesn't look great. So be careful with that. Other than that, you could sort of use these same tips to edit non-food photos, I guess. You just have to be a little bit more careful with the saturation. But that is a video for another time. Also, I guess, like, just to mention, if I did need to do any more tweaks bigger than that, I would probably import it into Photoshop. So these are all pretty basic photos. They're just of the bagel. There's not a lot to mess with here. But if I just like saw things I didn't like or wanted to really manipulate the photo in another way, Photoshop is key. But again, that is a time for a different time. It is a different, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Another video is for that. So there you guys. Just like that, you are food editing masters, hopefully. If you have any other questions, please let me know in the comments. I'm here for you. I'm here to help. Whatever you guys need, like the video, share the video. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. That would be amazing. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.